we are going to be going through the monogastric digestive system. If you missed either day of the lecture, it's all on this one PowerPoint slide, or not slide, this one set of slides, this one video. So if you missed the first day, you can skip probably about 2/3 of the way through. Otherwise, just sit back, listen, and enjoy the review. So, monogastric digestive system. We're going to be talking about a couple different digestive systems, but the monogastric is probably the simplest one to start with. It's also the one that we have, so sometimes it's easier to frame your brain around ourselves rather than jumping straight into animals. So what is a monogastric digestive system? Well, breaking down that word, mono means one, and gastric, we're talking about the stomachs. So together, that means one stomach. It's a little misleading to say monogastric is one stomach because the other species that we're talking about also only have one stomach. But we'll dive into that when we get to polygastric. Right now, we're just focusing on monogastric. And monogastric means one stomach. So some examples of some monogastric animals. Dogs, cats, humans, horses, rabbits. Those are all examples of monogastric animals. So if you need to pause, write this down. Start of digestion. So digestion actually starts, before we can even get to digestion, we have to talk about prehension. Prehension is how food is put in the mouth. So, for example, humans use their hands. We have hands. We sometimes use silverware in those hands, but we generally use our hands to put our food in our mouth. Elephants, they use their trunks. Cows, they use their lips and tongues, and that is their form of prehension. So prehension is how you put food in the mouth. Pause to write. So digestion, it starts in the mouth. So first, let's talk about mechanical digestion, that physical breakdown. This is probably what you think of when you're like, I'm going to eat some food. Chewing. The fancy word for chewing is mastication. Mastication, it means chewing. There's also chemical breakdown that's occurring in your mouth. So your saliva has an enzyme in it called amylase. And amylase breaks down starches, sugars, that sort of thing. That's why when you have a sucker, it will break down. You aren't chewing on it, you're just sucking on it, and it's going to disappear. It doesn't actually disappear, it just breaks down into those smaller components. So, what happens after it's done in your mouth? You swallow it. The food travels down the esophagus. Nothing too special about the esophagus. The muscles are supposed to only go one way. The only time that they go the other way is when you're throwing up, but that's when, something is wrong. Gravity can help, but it's not necessary. I found out as I was teaching students in person about this, apparently this isn't normal, but as a kid, eat something and then hang upside down to see if it would still go down or if it would come back up. I was always impressed that it did not come back up, but it's supposed to push down to your stomach. Those muscles are supposed to only go one way. And generally speaking, they do that. That's really all there is about the esophagus. But the stomach, a lot more happens. Most of what happens in the stomach is chemical breakdown. So there's a lot of enzymes in the stomach. Pepsin will break down proteins. Hydrochloric acid will break down a lot of things. Intrinsic factor officially breaks down vitamin B. There is a little bit of absorption that happens in the stomach. Not much. A little bit of absorption. The big things are water, medications, and take a second to think about why it would be important that medications are absorbed through the stomach. Because if you take an ibuprofen to get rid of some pain, or if you take other medication, you don't want it to take 4 hours before it goes into effect. If it is absorbed in your stomach, it goes into effect a lot faster. Also, vitamin B is absorbed in your stomach. Sorry, pause and write down. Small intestine is our next step. So after the stomach, food passes into the small intestine. This is where 90% of absorption occurs. Villi are used to increase surface area. So essentially, your small intestine is covered in these like finger-like things called villi. And those increase the surface area so that there's more surface to absorb nutrients. They will absorb broken down proteins, fats, sugars, all of that. After they're absorbed, nutrients go into the bloodstream, then into the rest of the body. Pause, write down. There is a little bit of breakdown still happening in the small intestine. As I said, a lot of that happens in the stomach, but there is still some breakdown that is happening in the small intestine. So there are some enzymes. Lipase breaks down fats. Bile also breaks down fats. Tryptophanase, that breaks down proteins. And that just makes it so that your body can actually absorb them. Pause, right. Your large intestine doesn't do a ton. It does synthesize or make vitamin K. It does absorb excess water and some nutrients, not very much. If it makes it to the large intestine, not much is absorbed. But it does absorb that excess water. If it's not doing its job, that's when you get diarrhea. Pause to write down. The last step before exiting the body is the rectum. And really what the rectum does is store waste. The stuff that ends up coming out are undigested food. So either food that your body couldn't digest or it just didn't have enough time to. Bile salts, so leftover components of the bile that was used to break down fats and such. And then bacteria. All is compacted to make your feces. Then that exits the body and we no longer worry about it, generally speaking. Pause to write down. Okay, but why do we care? Great question. The big thing is nutrition. If we understand the digestive system, we're better able to feed our animals and make sure that they are getting the nutrients that they need the way that they need them. Also, there are a lot of diseases that affect the digestive system, and the digestive system can show a lot of symptoms. As I said, diarrhea is a prime one. And a lot of what happens with diarrhea is that it is the large intestine not absorbing enough water. So all of these things can help us if we better understand that digestive system. So that wraps up this PowerPoint. Let me know if you have any questions, shoot me an email, whatever. But these are our notes on the monogastric digestive system. We'll still go through the polygastric digestive system. If we have time, we'll go through an avian digestive system. But monogastric, probably the simplest one and the base of what we're building off with all of the others. Have a great day.